Hello guys, this is Roshni. I am here to cover some important intergovernmental or international organizations in this video. Questions relating to international organizations are frequently asked in various competitive exams such as SSC, banking, railways and others. In this particular video, I will cover the United Nations. After the World War I that occurred between 1914 and 1919, the world leaders realized that there should have been an international body to avert such wars. In 1920, the League of Nations was established to meet the purpose, but it failed to avert the Second World War II that occurred from 1939 to 1945. Ultimately, the world leaders had to come with another body called the United Nations that replaced the previous one, that is the League of Nations. I hope you have got the crux of the background of the onset of the United Nations. The UN is an intergovernmental organization. Intergovernmental organization means an international organization that is agreed with by many sovereign nations, and sovereign nations means nations that are independently governed by its central governments or the representatives elected by the people of the respective nations. The United Nations was established on 24 October 1945, whereas the UN Charter, or in other words the Constitution of the UN, was formed on June 26, 1945 itself. The official language of the United Nations are Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian and Spanish. The headquarters of the United Nations is at New York City in the United States. The total number of members of the United Nations is 193 and there are 2 observer states. Now let us talk about the principal organs of the United Nations. There are 5 principal organs of the United Nations. These are the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the International Court of Justice, the UN Secretariat. Out of the 5 principal organs, the 4 are headquartered at New York City of the US. The 5th, that is the International Court of Justice or ICJ, is seated in The Hague, Netherlands. Now let us discuss each of the principal organ one by one briefly. General Assembly. It is composed of all the UN member states. It holds sessions on annual basis. Also, emergency sessions are called by the General Assembly when required. It is headed by the President and he is assisted by 21 Vice Presidents. The President is elected from among the member states on a rotating regional basis. The first session of the United Nations General Assembly was convened on January 10, 1946 in London. The important decisions are made by the General Assembly with the 2/3 majority of those present and voting in the Assembly. The important decisions include the admission of the new states to the UN, peace and security. The next is Security Council. It is responsible for maintaining peace and security among the UN member states. It is empowered to make binding decisions. Here, binding decisions refer to those decisions which the member states have to compulsorily carry out. The decisions of the Security Councils are known as UNSC resolutions. There are 15 members in the Council. Of these 15, 5 are permanent and the rest 10 are non-permanent members. The 5 permanent members include China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom and the United States. The rest 10 non-permanent members are Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana, India, Ireland, Kenya, Mexico, Norway and the United Arab Emirates. The permanent members or the P5 have the veto power over the UN resolutions. The term of non-permanent members is 2 years. The next organ is the United Nations Secretariat. The Secretariat carries out the day-to-day duties required to operate and maintain the UN system. The Secretariat is headed by the Secretary General and he is assisted by the Deputy Secretary General. The Secretary General is the de facto spokesperson and the leader of the United Nations. The Secretary General is appointed by the General Assembly on the recommendations of the Security Council. The current Secretary General of the UN is Antonio Guterres. The next organ is the International Court of Justice. It is a judicial organ of the UN. It is headquartered at The Hague in Netherlands. It adjudicates the disputes among states. It hears cases such as war crimes, violations of the state sovereignty, ethnic cleansing. All the UN members are the parties to the ICJ. Also, non-member states can be the parties to the ICJ. The rulings of the ICJ are binding in nature, meaning all the member states that are parties to it have to follow them. The ICJ is composed of 15 judges, the term of which is 9 years. They are appointed by the General Assembly. Every sitting judge should be of different nations. The next organ is the Economic and Social Council. The purpose of this organ is to assist the General Assembly in promoting international economic, social, and humanitarian cooperation and development. It gathers information or data, conducts studies on events, advises member nations, and makes recommendations. Apart from these organs, there are specialized agencies also. The purpose of these agencies is to fulfill the duties of the principal organs. The agencies are created by the organs themselves. There are in total 15 such agencies. They include Food and Agriculture Organization, International Civil Aviation Organization, International Fund for Agricultural Development, International Labour Organization, International Maritime Organization, International Monetary Fund, International Telecommunication Union, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organizations, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, World Tourism Organization, Universal Postal Union World Bank Group, World Health Organizations, World Intellectual Property Organizations, World Meteorological Organizations. I hope I have cleared all your doubts on the United Nations. If you liked my video, please subscribe the channel.